One app to rule them all, one app to find them, one app to bring them all and for my needs all bind them. Trust me, I've dreamt of that too. I wanted to do all my productivity stuff with one app. I've tried it with Evernote, Notion, Roam, or whatever is the new kid on the productivity block. But I came to the realization, just like all the good people in Middle Earth, that using one app for everything sounds great in theory, but it often becomes less enjoyable when you realize what you have to give up for it. Like the speed to capture my thoughts wherever I like using tools like Siri, Apple Voice Memos, or the quick capture option that Apple Notes introduced. Like having the option to use the best tool for each part of my productivity workflow. Like the option to easily export my stuff for clients instead of it being tied in a proprietary system. Like the option to work effortlessly offline or mainly on mobile, since a lot of the new productivity apps like Notion, Roam, Tana are focused around web pages and have either none or poor mobile or offline sync capabilities. And so much more. In essence, I came to the conclusion that it is most of the time better to have a set of tools which are tailored to the job ahead instead of waiting for the one app that can do it all. But of course, this brings with it another problem. Often we get lost finding the stuff we are looking for since we are unsure in which app we have stored them. So what you need is a framework. No, I'm not talking about a computer language framework, I mean a productivity framework. You need to define for yourself what type of information you store where, how you structure that information, and then connect it. There are 3 components which make such a productivity framework work for you. Number 1, you have to define an effective storing strategy by defining what information you put where. Number 2, you have to know how to connect things. Number 3, you need a system to bring stuff to your attention. People often forget that we all now have many filing systems. You might have a physical file or folder cabinet as well as a physical inbox. You have your computer's file system, most important your document folder and your desktop folder. And you have your folder system in your Notes app or Tags as an alternative. You have lists in your Reminders or Task Manager. You have folders in your email client and so on. You might have probably some more depending on the apps you use. All of these are places where you can store and forget about the information that comes to you, right? The main key for your productivity is to get these filing systems in sync and clearly define what you put where. I adapted the now famous Para method of Tiago Forte for myself. The idea behind it is that you have a basic structure of 4 main folders which you use in all of your apps and systems. So you create these 4 folders in each of your productivity apps. P, which stands for projects. Here you create a folder for each new project. A, which stands for areas. These are the folders for your main areas or categories of life, like health, family, learning. The categories are, of course, your own choice. R, which stands for resources. Here you collect stuff which might not fit in an area. Some examples of mine are references, stories, computer tips and tricks, etc. Again, there are no hard rules what you put in an area and what you put in a resource. This you have to define for yourself. And lastly, A, which stands for archive. Everything which is not active any longer, closed projects, old areas, old resources, will get in here. If you haven't heard about Para, you might check out this video for an in-depth discussion. Let's take a look at my Parastructure. Some people prefer to have one Parastructure. I prefer to have in each system one for my personal and one for my business. The 4 main folders of each Parastructure I number then with 1 to 4 to get them in order in my systems. I created the structure mainly in my Files app, my Notes app and my Reminders app. Here is how to use it. Let's assume I have a project which is create a new SharePoint structure for client Big Corp. In my file system I will create a folder Big Corp, new SharePoint structure under 01 projects in my Parastructure. I will also create a new folder with the same name under 01 projects in my Apple Notes app, and at last I will also create a list with the same name in my Apple Reminders app. I could also do the same with an Apple Mail And you are free to do so, but I found out that during conversations with a client, we often touch a multitude of projects, so my filing structure is more client-based. I do this because I often export important mails into the file system where I have a Parastructure. This has the advantage that I could give away the folder, including mails, without giving a client access to my mails. But you could also create the same Parastructure in mail if that works better for you. You see how flexible you are with it once you've defined what to store where. Why do I like this setup? I now have the freedom to plan the project in my task manager, have notes in Apple Notes, and all attachment and also the most important emails as EML exports are in my file system. And there is no friction because the path in the Parastructure itself is always the same. The only downside is that I need to create up to 3 or 4 folders for a project. But that is where automation comes in. I found a way to quickly create these folders as well as a general project structure within my Apple Notes Parasystem through shortcuts in mere seconds. Let me show you how. I have this shortcut, Create New Project. When I run it either on my Mac, my iPad or even my iPhone, I can define in which system, file, notes and reminders I want to create a new project folder or list. For this, I leave all checked because I want to create it in all apps and then press Done. Next, I can define whether I want to put it in the personal or business area. I have these two separated in my Parastructure, so for this example I choose business. Then I enter the project name. I usually started with the client short name if it is a business project, followed by a short project description. I choose the Big Corp Use SharePoint structure. I'm here on an iPad using Stage Manager, so all the apps are brought to the front. I see in Apple Notes that a new folder with a selected name was created and also a note which was created with a template project structure. I'll show you how that is done in a minute. By the way, for now, shortcuts can't move the folder within the Parastructure, so I have to move it under 01 projects by hand. Next, I see in Apple Reminders that at the end a list with a selected name was created. I also drag that list in my Parastructure. And at last, you can also see that in the Files app, a folder in the Parastructure under 01 projects was created. You see how easy this was? Let's check out the shortcut that made it possible. In the description of this video, you can download it and adapt it to your needs. The idea is that first I create the list of apps and then which area I want. Depending on the areas, you then ask for the project name. Then I find out whether the chosen item, which refers to the list of apps, contains the string notes folder. If so, I create a folder with the name of the project and the next 3 actions create the note with a template text. You see that I use markdown syntax for the template text and then turn it to rich text to insert into the new Apple Note. I found out, however, that making rich text from markdown strips out all empty lines. So if you want to have empty lines, you need to create the HTML tag for breaks. As you can see in the end result, that creates just what I wanted. With the next action, I check whether file folder was selected in the app list at the start and then create the folder. The last option does the same with a reminders list. Then I do the same for the business area in case that was selected. So you see, with a little automation, creating these project folders can be done in seconds, and that is actually what makes it so powerful. You can create them without the hassle of creating all these folders by hand, and also creating a structure template with the notes allows you to set up the project as fast as possible. Connecting things is all about linking stuff together. I have already created several videos on how to do that within the Apple ecosystem, which I will link to in the description. For me, the most important linking techniques are connecting my reminders to mails, notes, or files. You do this either by dragging a mail, a note or file into the Reminders app using drag and drop on the iPhone or iPad, or by using the Share menu when you select text in a mail or note. Both of these techniques will create links back to the mail, note or file within Apple Reminders. Also, you can drag emails, web pages and much more into Apple Notes, which connects these together. If you want to find out what else you can do with drag and drop, check out this video. And lastly, you need to define how you want to be reminded of the stuff. This isn't as crucial for reference information because this will mostly get triggered by something external which forces you to get that information. But everything connected to a task or project should have a trigger associated with it. That could be a scheduled reminder. That's why I like how easy you can create them with Apple Reminders and Siri. Or a list which you review maybe weekly or even daily. Or a location-based reminder. For instance, stuff I need for the next day I often put just in front of my main door, which acts as a trigger. So, for everything that you need to move forward, either set a reminder, schedule a review, or place it where you see it at the right moment. Okay, I hope you like these tips and you can apply it to your liking. If you want to get even more productive with your iPhone and iPad, you definitely need to check out the Files app. It is actually bonkers what features are in there that you might never have heard of. Don't miss out on all the power and check out this video. Okay, that's it for now. See you soon. Bye.